The American dream that's existed in this country for over decades is on life support. For some Americans, it might already be dead. We're going to talk a little bit about it, so stay tuned. How's it going, YouTube? I hope everyone's doing well. Silver and Gold Stack Attack coming at you with episode number 70. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to check out the new video. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then why not click that thumbs up button, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. No purchase necessary, I promise. You know I truly do appreciate the support. It means the world. One quick thing, I do have a new UPS mailbox, and I've listed the address in the description of this vid and the About section on the main channel page. Decal trades are always welcomed. Well, let me preface this vid with a statement. If you're here watching this video, then you're most likely an avid stacker of precious metals. That's what our community is all about. You've recognized that we can't count on our government to plan our futures, and you've taken a step forward towards ensuring your own lot in life by supplementing as best you can in creative and diverse ways. Social Security? Yeah. Who knows if it'll even be there when some of us are ready to start collecting. 401k? Well, completely volatile and can lose as quickly as they gain, or worse. Stock markets, always a risk. Cryptos, one of the most volatile investments out there. So we as stackers have recognized that we have to do more for ourselves. You know, in the event things we counted on for retirement just don't pan out as we'd hoped. Are precious metals going to help? Well, it all remains to be seen, but hey, at the very least, you're contributing to a storage of wealth every time you buy an ounce of gold or silver. That's not going to go away. If you stack smartly, you'll likely at least get back what you've got into your stack. And that's a hell of a better return than storing your fiat cash in a bank account. So the American dream, well, it was always a standard one. You know, go to school, start a career, get married, have 2.5 kids, a dog, a house of your own. You know, it was about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and it was all right there in the Declaration of Independence. Which brings me to a quick story about my daughter. She's in her 20s and is more than ready to buy a house. But one problem. She can't seem to overcome the incredible demand for single-family houses. They're being snapped up almost within hours of being listed, and by investors with deep pockets. She even went $18,000 over asking for one house and was immediately outbid by a lot. So who are these overbidders? Well, they're investment firms who've realized that buying up houses and charging outlandish rent for them is the way to go in today's economy. Now, it's really hurting this younger generation that's coming of age, and you know, they're ready to own their first real estate, but it's also hurting adults who simply can't compete with, you know, the seemingly unlimited funds from these investment companies. It's literally taking away millions of dollars in equity that could be in local residents' hands. Now, bear in mind, one of the major ways we transfer wealth and accumulate wealth is through real estate and home ownership. So when people are forced to rent, well, they lose the chance at that equity. Now, home ownership has increasingly become the cornerstone of the American dream as wages have eroded. You know, you can make money off of housing wealth and contribute nicely to your retirement when you're ready by selling your home and downsizing to something smaller. You know, that's a potentially big part of your nest egg. You used to have a pension for that, but companies got slick and replaced pensions with more volatile 401k plans. But we were always able to count on real estate as a funnel for retirement. Now, in all, home equity accounts for about 1/3 of the household wealth for the typical American. That's a chunk. And when they lose that equity, it could cause ripple effects that last for generations. Let's take a quick look at the current state of affairs in the U.S., but bear in mind, you know, this video isn't being posted to incite panic, nor am I a qualified financial planner. It's more to stimulate an intellectual dialogue in regard to our present situation and, bottom line, how it potentially affects us all. So please feel free to leave a comment below on your thoughts. They're always welcomed, and I'd love to hear your input. Let me know if I'm off base. Recent consumer confidence surveys indicate that Americans are anxious about their own economic futures, and that many Americans no longer seem to believe that they'll ever be financially secure or stable. The belief that you can succeed financially with hard work and determination has been a core tenet of the American dream. But now, more than 3/4 of all Americans believe that downward mobility is more likely than upward mobility. or the foundational elements of our collective dream and middle class lifestyle, i.e., owning a home, stable employment, retiring debt free and financially secure, is that now out of reach for too many, especially the younger generation? And has the problem of the vanishing middle class now reached a group that seemed entrenched before? Well, it all starts with one major facet of life: housing. And since the Great Depression, well, the American dream has been linked to home ownership. Now, years after the worst economic crisis since the 30s, America is well on the road to becoming a renter nation. And while the cost of my own basic staples like food and clothing has, up until recently, had remained the same or dropped, housing prices have absolutely soared, and they're rising in many regions in the country. And as those prices rise, well, home ownership rates are going in the opposite direction. After peaking at almost 70% home ownership in 2004, it's plunged. It's fallen to below a 50-year low of below 64%. And concurrently, as home ownership rates have dropped, well, the number of renter households has grown. In fact, renter households are now the majority in 9 of the 11 largest U.S. metropolitan areas. 9 of 11. Renting is no longer limited to high school graduates, college graduates. Believe it or not, the majority of renters in this country are 40 years and older, which is up from 43% in 1995. That's insane. While no state, county, or major city in the United States has enough affordable housing for its poorer residents, it's not just those families who are forced to rent. Even full-time employed Americans are now struggling to find affordable rental housing, in part because demand has surpassed the supply of such units, causing rental prices to absolutely skyrocket. And that's unfortunate because just a decade ago, these middle-income families might have become homeowners, but now they have to put pressure on the rental market because they can't afford to buy. And that leaves fewer affordable rental homes or apartments for everyone else. And one of the primary reasons families can't afford to buy homes or even find affordable rental housing is that housing costs have risen more quickly than household income. Now, we can thank COVID for beginning the trend of higher wages being implemented by employers just to get people off their asses and back to work. But all but the highest paid worker wages have pretty much been stagnant for almost 30 years. And it didn't help that people were being paid more for unemployment to stay home rather than work, and the stimulus checks just kept on rolling in, but it is what it is. Now, because wages hadn't kept pace with soaring house prices in most places in this country, Americans must now make trade-offs and sacrifices. 1/5 of all employed Americans have to find ways to supplement their income just to pay bills and buy groceries. 14% are spending more on their credit cards to pay for their monthly living expenses. And 17% of workers have been forced to sacrifice their retirement security. That's worst case scenario right there. Yep, things aren't looking all that great for those Americans nearing retirement. And as for young adults, well, financial security during their sunset years seems to be a fleeting dream. Federal Reserve data shows that 31% of people who have yet to retire and 19% of 55 to 64-year adults who are near retirement have no post-work savings or private pension. Zero. That's scary. And older folks who have either retired or are approaching retirement, well, they often find that they have inadequate savings, even though many of them worked for employers who provided pensions rather than 401ks. It's an ongoing trend, unfortunately. And Americans coming into retirement are also burdened with more housing, automobile, and even student loan debts than people their age did a decade ago. And as a result, many have decided to push back their retirement date. You see folks working at Walmart. Some may enjoy being there, getting out of the house and having something to do, but I guarantee you, the majority of them aren't there for the fun of it. They're there to get paid because they need the money. Younger Americans are also struggling to save for retirement. Some lack retirement savings because a lot of them are part-time workers who don't have access to a plan that sets aside some of their pay, or because they're too burdened with student loan and other debts to be able to save for retirement. So is this the death of the dream? Well, Americans who've worked hard and played by the rules, many now fear that they'll never be financially successful. They've lost faith in the American dream, they're disillusioned, and some are showing signs of despair. One group in particular, those aged 45 to 54 with no degree, appear to have given up completely. Non-college Americans, especially males, no longer seem to believe that hard work and determination is enough to achieve that financial success. And many will lash out, blaming politicians for pushing economic policies that harm the middle class. They're not wrong. It's true. They're anxious, they're angry, and they doubt that their high school diploma or work skills are going to be enough for them to succeed in the job market. So while the American dream of upward mobility and financial security is alive and well for some who've carefully planned and spent wisely, and definitely for the richest Americans, well, lower and middle income families have never felt less secure financially than they do now. Downward mobility appears to be the new normal for far too many Americans, and it simply makes upward mobility an almost insurmountable dream. All right, my apologies for the doom and gloom of this video, but these are things I see each and every day. And if you're not concerned about the future of this country, then you're not paying enough attention. We all hope we've done enough to live a good life, but it doesn't always work out that way. Things can happen to any of us, really. Personally, I've been blessed with a great wife, kids, a good job, and everything that comes with it. But I'm a realist. I also understand that tomorrow is never guaranteed, and life balances on a precarious line of order and chaos. Just one nudge could push us from one to the other. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the 70th episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. The world is crazy, but one thing we know we're going to do, and you know what that is. Damn right, get stacked. Look, I'll see you early next week with a new video, but for now, I am out of here. Peace, people. Have a good weekend.